Welcome to RC Underground Radio.
Yes, I realize I look like an idiot with this mustache, and I'm okay with it.
The ultimate podcast that covers everything RC.
You don't need to cut anything either. You can just call this the raw, uncut episode. We can leave it at that.
The raw. Yeah.
Are you drinking dollar store soda again? Quit spending your money on RC stuff. You can buy some name brand soda.
RC Underground Radio is your backstage pass to the RC industry. With insiders that are shaping the future of the hobby. The future of the hobby.
When we bring this guest on, I guarantee people are going to go, are you kidding me? He wrote a song for you.
I did.
We're going to have to end this soon, huh?
Yeah, no shit. And we're going to have to edit this.
So, here are your hosts, Dave Brinkman and Ryan Ratzloff.
All right, everybody. Welcome again to another week of RC Underground Radio. Super excited about this one. We're going to talk about another big race, another one RC big race at one of the top programs in the country, 608 Raceway. And tonight I've got Brendan Riedner with me. Brendan, welcome to the program.
What's happening, Dave?
Not too much, buddy. Glad to have you on here tonight. We got a lot to talk about, a lot to unpack. Let's go with the big announcement. Tell us what just recently took place, I believe in the last 48 hours.
Yeah, actually, 24 hours, actually. But yeah, so I have recently freshly became the new owner and operator and general manager and head custodian of the 608 RC Raceway in Edgerton, Wisconsin. So that deal I kind of fell backwards into that thing, and yeah, so far so good. I've kind of took it over since the first of the year, and just kind of helped them. You know, there's a couple of guys who owned it. They started in 2020, and right towards the end of 2020, 2021 was their first season starting in January, and they had some stuff come up in their personal life, and it was one of those deals where somebody had to run it or it was going to go away. And selfishly, I was too invested with cars and parts and pieces, and it's 30 minutes from my house, so selfishly I was too invested to see it go away. So I thought, well, if somebody's going to run it, I might as well do it. And I did that for January, and then they came to me in end of January and said, hey, would you be interested in kind of taking this over and make it your own? And I'm like, well, I wasn't really looking for that, but there again, it was one of those things where if somebody didn't do it, it was going to go away. So I got a crash course on LLCs and insurance and retail and sales and marketing and signing leases and stuff like that. So I now am an owner of a RC racetrack / hobby store, I guess.
That's great. Well, it's definitely in good hands. Yeah. I've been to the track. You do a great job with it. Everybody that's there, super excited when they're there. Everybody's treated fairly. A lot of classes, a lot of smart classes that make sense. So yeah, from what I see, buddy, from my lens, you're doing everything right. So just congratulations to you. And I'm sure all the racers there are going to be super excited because just some of the changes and just the motivation that this track has been having here in these last 6 months, just it's definitely on a forward trajectory. So congratulations. Yeah.
I appreciate that, and I appreciate everybody who's, we got a pretty good core group of guys that show up no matter what. There's always no matter what racetrack you go to, there's going to be your diehards that are there. Wind, snow, hurricane, tornado, it doesn't matter. They're going to be there. But then to get the new people in, when I took this thing over, I knew I've been around, either stock car racing or RC racing my whole life. That's all I've ever done. I never played sports. I never. It was always just we were racing something, either RC cars or I race stock cars in the summer. So I was always around it. So I knew enough about it. Like I knew what makes sense. I knew what I wasn't worried about coming up with the rules. I wasn't worried about so much, the day-to-day stuff, but the side of things, what gets people there and what keeps them coming back. That's been, to me, the hardest part. So if anybody can unlock that, I think that got the magic key. I think that's really what it is what gets them there, what keeps them coming back. So everything else is just kind of, everything else kind of takes care of itself. You write some rules that make sense for everybody and doesn't make everybody go broke, and treat everybody fair and try to be even that way, and then that kind of takes care of itself. But getting them there has been the struggle, and every week we go up and up and up. We haven't, since we started, we haven't had a week that was less than the week before. So we had 51 entries in 5 classes last week. So that's I'm pretty happy with that. That's pretty good by RC racing standards, I'd say. So
yeah, that's fantastic, and I can tell you, you've mastered the secret sauce. Appreciate everybody, and thank them for coming. And I've been there as a racer. And everybody knows I got a track in my basement, but like 608 is kind of becoming home, right? For me as a racer, I look at 608 as like my home track. So
I appreciate that.
Yeah, that's the impact it's had on me. Just being there. So. Yeah, you're doing everything right, buddy. It's in good hands. So
well, I appreciate that. That makes me feel a little bit better about just hearing from people like that. That it's one of those deals, kind of like you think you're doing all the things right, but you don't really know because nobody's going to come out right out and say hey, this really sucks, or hey, we should be doing this instead. So you just kind of hope you're trending the right path, and so I appreciate the vote of confidence there, Dave.
Yeah. Absolutely. Oh, absolutely. I wouldn't have you on the show if I didn't think it was a quality place and you were a quality dude and you didn't have great racers. I mean, we obviously want to associate ourselves with winners, and that's winners on the racetrack, but also winners that promote and help this hobby. And you're definitely doing that. Okay. So you own this place now, and then, you're not like rest on your laurels. You're like, okay, well, what do we do next? Well, let's just have the biggest race of the year. How about that? So coming up next week, coming up a week from this Sunday, I'll let you tell everybody about it. What's coming up? What's it called? How's it going to roll? What do they got to look forward to? Let's hear the whole deal.
Yeah, so I tried to have this thing kind of happened by accident. Actually, I tried to have one trophy race for each of our classes every one trophy race a year for each of our classes. Excuse me, and it just so happened that I didn't really have. I started the 1RC thing just kind of because I thought I should. It seemed like the easiest way to go racing for somebody, for a dad and a son off the street. Hey, what do we race? Well, we got these cars that come in a box with everything you need. It's $210. You throw it down, you go racing. Okay, well, that makes sense to race that. So let's try to run those. I didn't know anything about 1RC racing in January. I had no idea. Never seen one, never touched one, never nothing. So I didn't have a race schedule for those guys, but I didn't know if it was going to take off. And our hobby stock race, or we call them hobby stocks, they're box stock SR10s. We didn't have a race for those. So the way the schedule kind of fell, like they had ended up, we're like one weekend, both of them classes were going to have a trophy race. Well, it ended up that both those classes ended up being our biggest classes. So this thing kind of morphed into like this huge event or hopefully huge event that we're going to have. So it's going to be a SR10 trophy race and a 1RC trophy race. And we've since split the 1RCs. We got a crate class and a super class, like a lot of places are doing. So the crate class is the stock 1RC 5-cell nickel metal battery. The super is the LiPo battery, the 300 or the 240, whichever one you choose to use. So it's going to be, I hope it's going to be pretty good. And there's some guys coming that are going to be some heavy hitters, I think. And a lot of guys from the underground, I think, are going to be there. And some guys from up in the central Wisconsin, like Stevens Point area, those guys are going to be coming down. So hopefully it's a pretty good thing. So I'm hoping that we pack that place tight and we can everybody has a good time and we all leave happy. So that's my goal, I guess. So we'll see what happens, but
absolutely. So if I'm right, it's called The Big One. It's going to take place on March 24th.
24th. Yep.
Doors open about 8:00.
9ish. Yeah. 8:30, 9 o'clock.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
9 o'clock. Perfect. Yep. That gives me a little more time to get out there.
We usually try to open the doors at 9 o'clock. We'll do open practice from 9 to 10 from 10 to 11, we split it up into 10-minute segments of, whatever each class is. So we're not all trying to race on top of each other. Or practice on top of each other. So we'll start racing at 11. We usually been getting done by 3 or 3:30. So I'm sure it's going to go a little long. But yeah, it's one of those things, like I said, it kind of took off and became its own thing here. And going forward, I think we're going to try to schedule this one on a Saturday because it's a little easier for people to get here. There's some guys coming from quite a ways away. So, but we were kind of pot committed by the time that we found out who's all coming. We were already kind of here. So it's like, well, we gotta roll with it now. So if this thing turns out to be what I think it's going to be, we're definitely going to try and do it on a Saturday next year, I think. So,
and like you said, those are your two biggest classes. So there's going to be regulars out there. Plus, a bunch of out of towners coming trying to steal the prize. But and I imagine you got some prizes and giveaways and all that kind of stuff going on.
Yeah, Steve Clark with Awesome Sauce, he donated some stuff. Aaron Streblo from Attitude RC donated some stuff. Greg Morrow from MR Customs, Paul Peterson from Shark RC donated a bunch of stuff. Oh man, there's a whole bunch of stuff I got there. I know you stepped up to play RC Underground, or RC U Radio stepped up. So yeah, just everybody who came forward and helped. The left-hander RC Hayes over there in Pewaukee. So yeah, there's a lot of. I got a box full of stuff I got to go through.
Papa Willie's Traction Tonic has been curing poor traction since 2016. The name says it all. If you're not popping wheelies, it's not Papa Willie's. Papa Willie's has become known across the United States on dirt oval to off-road, asphalt to concrete, carpet to hardwood, and so many other surfaces. Papa Willie's continues adding to their lineup with tonics for cold and hot weather, loose dirt to high traction, dry dirt, wet dirt, clay and abrasive surfaces, along with anti-drag bearing oil, tire cleaner, tire glue, pit accessories, and swag. You can find the complete Papa Willie's catalog at www.papawillies.net. Prepare for victory with Papa Willie's Traction Tonic.
Folks, are you looking to have half of the enthusiasm Hunter Carey has up on the driver's stand? Or are you looking to look like me walking around the pits in my cool RC Underground Radio merch? Well, listen, I'm sorry to say that Carpies can't work miracles in those departments, but there's good news. The folks at Carpies can definitely help you become the ultimate toy car nerd. How do you ask? With their custom wraps and a killer collection of official RC branded merch. So while they can't promise to shave a 10th off your lap time, they can save you 10% on your next order with promo code RCU10 upon checkout at carpies.com. That's CARPYS.com.
So yeah, there's a big box of stuff there that I've got, people donated, and every time something shows up in the mail, I'll throw it in there. So we got stuff from a lot of people, Shark RC and MR Customs, Attitude RC Raceway, Awesome Sauce and Scuff Racing, Left-Hander RC. You guys, you donated some stuff. So yeah, it's gonna be a good time. It's always a good time. I always enjoy RC racing. I enjoy any racing, to be honest with you. And but I always like these kind of big races like this. So, like I said, I hope that this ends up being. I hope this ends up being as good as I hope it's. I hope it ends up being as good as it can be, and we'll take it for what it's worth after that. But I think this is going to be pretty cool.
Yeah, there's no doubt. I mean, just the guys that you have and the guys that we know are coming. Everybody's in the right perspective, right? Everybody's coming to have a good time. There's no doubt it's going to be a good show. And isn't that crazy? Like what you just said is like, putting on a show, there's a little bit of stress involved, but like as race directors, I know you feel the same way. We're just having fun through the whole day ourselves. Right. Our goal and our focus is that everybody else is having a good time. But when at the end of the day, you sit back and go, I had a really good time. Like this was some exciting racing. It was fun. Some of the conversations, some guys show up at the track and they don't know each other before the day started. And when they leave, they're saying, hey, reach out on me on Facebook. Let's chat, or, if you want to, trade car setups or something. Oh, that'd be cool. Or I'll see you at Trackside, or I'll see you at 608, or I'll see you at the Underground. You know, that's always fun. There's just that whole fellowship piece that we always talk about. So
it is. It's. I think all motorsports are kind of that way, though. You know, you always. I mean, I've gone states away to go race my stock car. You know, and roll in there, not know anybody. And by the time you leave, you got a whole nother extended family you never knew you had. You know what I mean? So it's just. I think motorsports in general are that way. I don't think it's limited to just RC racing, but I think it's definitely a very unique activity. Motorsports. I think, and it's I'm not sure you get that when you play golf or when you do things like that. Motorsports are so unique that way. You know, the camaraderie you get, and you're in competition, but yet you depend on each other, but yet you want to beat that person, but yet you want to see them succeed. It's a weird dynamic that you go through when you're involved in racing. So
yeah, and there's so many times that who you think is your biggest rival, and the next minute you're helping each other out, right? It's like If you're gonna beat people, you want to beat them at their best. You want to beat them at your best, but you want to beat them at their best. You don't want them having an issue or watching them go, yeah, I can tell them what to do there. And, it's going to make the racing a little more competitive. And you guys did that for me when I came to 608. I mean, there's a couple of people there told me some of their secret sauce, and I went out and laid, a pretty decent lap there. It was too late for me, though. I was too far back in the B, too many good cars in front of me. Once I started to figure it out, it was just too late. So really excited to get back there because I kind of got the car finally kind of working there, so that should be fun.
The carpet's kind of a whole new thing for you too. Racing with the foam in your basement, it's not. I know when I run at your place, the foam in the basement it's tricky, man. I still haven't quite got it figured out. I sat and watched Hefty run 900 laps of practice last time we were there, and I'm like, I just can't. I couldn't get myself to go as fast as some of them guys go, and Mari and Mari and Streblo and Hefty and them guys just rip around that place. And it's like I feel like I'm driving a dump truck. You know what I mean? It's like you guys got something figured out that I don't. But so I know when you get tossed into the blender how it feels. So when you came and struggled by us, I know exactly how it feels. When I go to your place, I'm like, oh man.
Yeah, it's fun to try to figure out the ingredients to put it all together to make it quick. So, okay, you talk about that you run a real car. I see it peeking there behind you a little bit. Tell us about that. Yep. What are you doing on the full scale side?
So I started racing RC cars in '96 at the ripe old age of 8. And my dad's raced stock cars since my dad started racing stock cars in '84. So he's been racing. This is 40 years for my dad this year. I started racing RC cars in '96. I started racing full scale stuff you can't call them real cars. I've learned that over the years. You can't call stock cars real cars because the RC guys get weird about that. So it's full scale.
Race cars.
I gotta keep
scale.
I know. But I used to call them real cars, and then I got a dirty look, so I don't do that.
Yeah.
Anyway. But I started racing full-scale stuff in 2002, and I've been racing ever since. So I took a couple of years off with the RC stuff in between getting married and having kids and trying to get my life straightened out. And I've kind of got out of it, got into it. So, but the stock car stuff has always stayed. I've always been in it. Ran a whole bunch of years over at Jefferson and Columbus when Columbus was still around, and then went in '09. Started racing at Beaver Dam on the dirt, ran Beaver Dam and ran a bunch of IMCA stuff for almost 10 years. And then I switched back to going to Jefferson in 2017, and I've been racing over there ever since. So this summer, I think I'm going to head up to Golden Sands and Plover, race there on Friday nights. And this is actually my son. This is my son Easton's car. He's been racing Bandoleros at Jefferson for the last 4 years. So kind of aged out of those, and then we got them in the same division that I'm in here. So we're gonna both be racing hobby stocks this year. So awesome. That's it, man. That's all we do around here. Yeah, we're pretty excited about it. So
I didn't realize that Easton was running too. I kind of wondered because I saw his recent paint scheme was exactly like that car? And I'm like, oh, is he doing that in honor of Dad, or is that actually his car? And then I saw above the door that picture that you posted, and it said Spud, and I'm like, is Easton driving that car, or is that Dad's car?
Yeah.
So that's awesome.
No, that's Easton. Yeah, he started racing. He started racing go-karts in like 2015. I think 2015 he started racing go-karts. Ran a couple years at Fort Atkinson and Beaver Dam. Then we got him switched over, ran to Bandolero for, he started that in 2018, I think. 18, 19. Yeah, so like the last 4 or 5 years he's ran Bandolero. So, he got pretty good.
I would say always him and Sauter, right? Yeah.
Man, Penn Sauter is so fast. The Sauter kids are fast. The Sauter kids fast. Some of them Wong's Nest kids, Keegan and Caden and Tegan, they're super fast. There's some Johnson kids over by Milwaukee area. They're really fast. There's probably 8 or 10 of them kids and them bandoleros that are they're fearless for starters. They have no fear, and they just drive the guts out of them things, So yeah, it's fun watching them kids get after it. So and a lot of them kids have run bandoleros and moved up into other stuff and had a ton of success. So I mean that just goes to show that stepping stone deal is a real thing. I mean, I don't think that a lot of them kids would have the success they'd had if it wasn't for starting out so young in them bandoleros.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I'll be coming out and watch you guys. And so let's talk a little bit about this 1RC scene, man. I mean, you've been in it too. Like I said, you just got into it in January, but you were watching it from a distance and seeing it at other tracks and things. I mean, it's just crazy. Like, there's so many big races. There's so many tracks around the country, guys traveling around to races and all this kind of stuff. And yeah, it's just a great community. What do you think the real success of it is? What's the center of it?
I think it's a couple things. Number one, they're easy, right? I mean, you can set up a track in your living room. You can set up a track in your garage. You can rent a storage unit and have races if you wanted to. You can't do that with any other form of RC racing. So there's that it's easy. Number two, I think people want the realism. People want to feel like they have what they see on TV. They want to feel like they have a dirt late model, or they have an IMCA modified or a big block modified. So I think the fact that these cars are probably, as far as RC stuff is concerned, are as real as you're going to get, I think helps. I mean, if you've ever looked at a dirt late model and you take the body off of one RC car, they're identical. It's the same thing, other than not having coilovers in the front of it. I mean, it's the same thing. So, solid rear end with a Panhard bar and a third link and a swing arm. I mean, it's the same thing. You don't get that in any other form of RC car. And the fact, I think the third part that helps it is there's no aftermarket for them at all. I mean, so when I buy a car and I take it home and I go through and I do the stuff that I'm doing to it, I'm racing against the same stuff that Murph Dog has. I'm racing against the same stuff that Aaron Strebelo has. I'm racing against the same stuff that Dave Brinkman has. It's all the same stuff, right? You don't have to worry about somebody finding a special tire or a special ESC, or it's not the motor of the week or the chassis of the week or the components of the week. It's all the same stuff, and that's kind of what I think helps that is you don't have to worry about being outspent. You don't have to worry about being out, if somebody gets a line on something and they figure it out, none of that really happens with these cars, So, that's what I mean, those are probably the three biggest things that I can think of that help that class,
Yeah, no, you nailed it. You hit on all the check marks because, I've seen guys come with all kinds of fancy stuff, fancy chargers, fancy radios, and, not make the A main. And I've seen other guys, right. Nick Ciccone, I always call him out. He'll be chuckling, listen to this. Yeah. Nick Ciccone shows up the first time with the car still in the box and goes, "Hey guys, the car literally just showed up 2 days ago." And we all kind of looked at it, put it set up in it, and he goes out and wins a 100-lap feature. And he hadn't run RC cars in 20 some years, stock radio, stock car. Yeah, we threw some lipos in there for him because he didn't know what do you mean lipo? What's that?
He's beat me both times I've gone down there, so I can't say too much about it.
Yeah, last race again, and only 2 cars make it, transfer immediate to the main, and he did it. He was one of 2 cars, so you cannot take it away from him. The guy's still talented after
not at all.
years.
Yeah, and like I said, I mean, you talked about how many big races that they have, or how many big races they're having, and I honestly think a lot of that is it's so easy. I mean, a lot of those guys use TrackMate timing system, which is relatively inexpensive. You can carry the whole timing system around in a suitcase. You don't have to have this big extravagant setup. The transponders are cheap. You see a lot of these races are set up on gym floors. You can go down and rent the community center downtown for $100 for 4 or 5 hours and throw down a race and run 100 people through there and be in and out and gone. And you don't have to. There's no overhead with that stuff. So
right. I said that's a very good point. I hadn't even thought of. Yeah, like you could go somewhere and just set up a big race.
Yeah. With the foam click together tiles, I mean, you can have an entire RC racing operation, track, scoring system, the whole works in the back of your car. You know what I mean? It's so simple. So simple. I think it's one of the greatest. I mean, it's probably one of the best things that happened to RC racing is that one RC stuff. And to be 100% honest, I'm a pretty transparent person. So I was not big on them when I first got them, and I got them, and I got it home, and I started messing with it a little bit. And I'm like, that's kind of cool, and did a little bit of research on the things that guys are doing, and it's like, oh, these are pretty legitimate. You know what I mean? And then you look, and there's a big race here, and there's a big race there, and it's like, oh, this is actually kind of a thing, and. Yeah, I went down the 1RC rabbit hole pretty quick. So
yeah, well, we're glad you did. We're all glad you did.
Yeah,
now you're a track owner, and you got one of the biggest 1RC classes in the state, and it's crazy. So
before we split the classes up, before we split up and had the crate, we were averaging like 14 to 17 1RC cars a night. So
we need the Wisconsin Challenge Series or something, whatever we call it.
Oh, absolutely.
We got to get all these track promoters together. I'm putting my hand up saying, guys, gals, let's get together. We need to put something together for all these racers. Could you imagine if we had some kind of traveling deal and that'd be cool. The amount of racers that would be there?
Yeah.
Plus guys that would come from out of town, probably.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that would be awesome. I like I said, I've always been big on that kind of stuff. I've always liked that whole kind of get everybody together. Kind of like to me with the stock car stuff, the most fun time is anything that we race after like the beginning of September, because once you get past the first couple weeks of September, it's all specials. We go to Rockford, we go to Jefferson 2-day, and we go to Rockford for short track, and we go to Lacrosse for Oktoberfest, and it's like all them races to me are just so cool because they're all kind of, I guess you could call them crown jewels, you know what I mean? And to be able to go there, like a couple of years ago, I won Jefferson and I won the Dells in the same year, so to go to both them tracks, 2 weekends apart and win both them things was pretty. It's just like feels like it did something, you know what I mean? And this, the RC race and stuff is no different. When you go somewhere else and you walk in as an unknown and you end up doing good, it kind of makes you feel good about yourself, and that's really that's really what you're at the end of the day. That's what you're there to do, is to win, so. Right.
And like you said, we're fortunate. We have a lot of great full size tracks that you can go and compete on, like you said. So we need to take advantage of this great 5 or 6 or 7, however many great 1RC tracks we have in the area. Not to say that other divisions can't do it too. I'm not saying that, but really haven't seen much of that. Like, without talking, we've all been kind of respectful of each other. Like I know there's tracks that run on Friday nights. We just run once a month on a Saturday. You guys run on Sundays. It's like, it's just naturally like we're not trying to compete with each other, right? And so it seems like there's just a natural kind of connection there. We just all haven't talked. And I think if we did that, we could all come together with something great. So I'm going to challenge the racers. When you're watching this episode, and I'm gonna make this into a short and put it on the RC Underground Radio's Facebook.
There you go.
Want you guys to respond I want you guys to blow it up that you want to see all these Wisconsin 1RC organizations get together and do something really big for 2025. Just let us know your thoughts. We'll do it over the winter because, like you said, we got a lot of guys that race real cars. Oops, I did it. I said it. Real cars.
Easy.
Edit. Full-size cars along with the 1RC cars. And let's see if we can't do something special, man. I definitely be involved in with RC Underground Radio if we pull something like that together. That'd be super fun.
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, absolutely. Just the way I am, I'll race 6 times a week and twice on Sunday if I have to. You know what I mean? Like I would race every day if I could. And it's just, I mean, it's obviously not possible, but I can't get enough of any of it, whether it's stock cars or RC cars or, you know, I like, this is what I do. It's like, it's one thing I found in life that I'm good at. I'm halfway, well, I shouldn't say I'm good. I'm halfway decent at, and I like doing it. So, you know, if it was up to me, we'd race Saturday and Sunday if I could, you know, but it's kind of one of those things where it's like, you got to kind of, as the person in charge, you got to kind of look out for everybody. And it's like, well, there are some guys who don't want to race that much. Once a week is plenty for them, you know, or they get their practice on Tuesday and they get the race on Sunday and that's enough. So it's like, you don't want to burn them out either, you know? So I worry about that. And I think there's a certain demographic or a certain group that only wants to do it every now and then. And you need to have those people and you can't burn them people out, you know? So if you find a happy balance where you got some people that'll do it, they'll be there no matter when you schedule a race, and then you got your guys who fit it in between camping and fit it in between, you know, their holiday stuff and birthday parties and their whatever, you know. And if you can find that balance, I think that's great. And I think that there are some tracks that do a really, really good job of that. And it sounds like the way the underground is, you know, you found your kind of niche and you found what works and found what works for you because it's at your house, right? You got a pretty unique setup over there too, where it's not like I have people come to a facility that I rent. You have people coming to where you sleep. It's a little bit different deal, you know what I mean? So right. So that you're extremely committed compared to some people. I mean, you let them into your house and your home and everything, you know. So to do that and to find a good system that works for keeping people coming back and keeping people wanting to come back, I think is pretty special that you were able to find that. So yeah, then the once a month thing works great for you. Then that's awesome. So
that's awesome. But you need more racing. Yep. There's plenty of it out there, and it's not that far away. If you can come here, they can come to 608. You know, George Mari and Nick Ciccone, they're all coming to 608. They're like, it's basically from their house. It's the same distance. It's just a little farther west, you know. So
different direction, yeah.
They're excited to come to those shows, and you know, venturing out to any of the other RC tracks. You just leave a little earlier. That's all. So everybody's got its space, and you know, there's the, you know, if mama ain't happy, nobody's happy, right? So we all most of us are older and have finally made those decisions to have wives and families, and as long as we balance that, you know, you always talk life and work balance. We have to talk, you know, life and RC balance. So
life and play balance.
If you're around a little bit more, they're going to want you to go away a little bit more. Say that's the secret. So you young racers who are just getting married, that's the secret. If you say, yeah, honey, I'll be there. I'm going to go to this birthday. At some point they're going to go, don't you have an RC race this weekend? You know, like they're going to want you to go. So, you know, just make sure everybody's happy. Make sure you're in the family moment, and you know, there'll be times she'll say, yeah, well, why don't you maybe go RC racing this Saturday? I want to go do something with the girls.
I was just saying, and going back to the whole, you know, promoting other racetracks or whatever, I always think back to a driver's meeting I was in. Man, this was probably like the mid 2000s, 2003, 4, 5, somewhere in there. We were at Jefferson, and it was a 2-day show. It was championship night. It was championship night at Jefferson, and Terry Tucker, the guy who owns Jefferson Speedway, has forever held the driver's meeting. He's always been the guy in charge of the driver's meeting, and even to this day. And he was talking about, you know, there's the race coming up to the Dells, or we're going here, going there, and he always said, "I want you to go to those racetracks. I want you to to go there, compete, run good, and when you win, tell them where you came from. Like that to me always stuck with me. Like, you're right. You know, if I can be a Jefferson guy and I can go to one of these races and I can run up front and they say, man, that guy come from Jefferson, like who else races over there? You know what I mean? It's good for everybody, I think, you know. Right. So, you know, you know when you go to any other race anywhere, you can look at the guys and kind of see, okay, well, this guy comes from here and we know that guy comes from over there and these guys came with us. So, you know, it's kind of a secondary competition to see who has the good guys. You know what I mean? Because there again, it's cool to go somewhere else and run good. So
yeah, it's about, you know, you bring up a good point, because when you go to other tracks like that, it's the one time where it's kind of like a team sport, right? Like if you got 608 guys and RC Underground guys, and we got Stevens Point guys. To your, you know, what you're saying is so true, because it'd be like, hey, how the RCU guys do? How did the 608 guys do? It's not just how did Brendan do, or how did Mari do?
Right.
Like, how'd that whole crew that went there? Where did they finish? You know, and and it kind of some track props, right? So yeah, that's actually a really good point.
I've always kind of, like I said, that's always stayed in the back of my mind, and there are guys who I race with, you know, in the full scale stuff that, you know, we're probably not the best of friends, and we wouldn't go out to lunch together. We'll put it that way, right? But when they go somewhere else, you're like, we'll pay attention and see how he does this weekend. You know, the guys who stand around in the middle of summer with their hands in their pockets, they don't want to cheer for you. They're kind of in your corner when you go somewhere else. You know what I mean? So that's always been kind of cool.
Yeah, that's a great point. That's a great point. I appreciate that you brought that up, because that is so true of racers. Well, again, Brandon, we want to thank you for being on the show tonight. Man, we talked about a lot of stuff, more than one RC racing and more than your big race.
We got
coming, but let's cover that one more time. It's called the Big One. It's at 608 Raceway in Edgerton, Wisconsin. Mm-hmm. That race is coming up on the 24th of March, so that's just a week from Sunday. So get your cars ready. Doors are going to open at 9, racing all afternoon. Why don't you give us the address and where they can learn more about yourself in 608?
It is address is 112 Swift Street in Edgerton, Wisconsin. It's actually at the Tri-County Community Center. It's upstairs of the community center. It doesn't look like a racetrack at all. A lot of people it's a big square brick building with a long concrete sidewalk. You walk in, go straight up the stairs, and we're up there. So yeah, a lot of people, it doesn't look like anything you'd ever expect a racetrack to be in. So then you can check us out on Facebook. Just Facebook and then 608. RC Raceway, and we're on there. I try to get on there as much as I can and try to keep that populated and keep it going, so we stay in the algorithm. So
that's awesome, Brandon. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. We really enjoyed having you on.
Absolutely, I appreciate it, and I appreciate everything you do too, Dave. I when I started racing RC cars with my JRXT back in 1996, I never thought that there'd be an RC racing only podcast. So that's pretty awesome, and more people need to appreciate what you're doing. So I know I sure do.
That means the world to me, buddy. Yeah, thank you so much. So you have a great night, and we will see you at the racetrack here in just a few days.
Awesome. Thanks, Dave.
See you, buddy.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to the RC Underground Radio Podcast. Be sure to like, subscribe, and tell your fellow racers about the show. Tune in again next week for more RC content.